Babber brought his ex-girlfriend and her child home one day. "We could all live happily ever after if you were to leave me." He responded, "Even Mom would get to hold a grandchild." I gave in to my husband's push to get a divorce. Why? Because he is unaware of the card up my sleeve that I possess. I can't help but wonder what expression he'll have when he finds out. The suspense is simply too exciting. Amelia is my name. My age is 35. For the past 3 years, I have been married to Robert, who is 5 years my junior. We are not yet parents. My mother-in-law started to become quite demanding and wanted a grandchild after we had been married for a while. "You've been married for 3 years, right, Amelia? When will the grandkids be here? For what length of time do you want to make me wait?" She has been calling every other day to ask if a grandchild is on the way, and lately, she has been rushing me with her calls. I spoke with Robert about it since I was at my breaking point. "Robert, your mother called me again today. Every time the phone rings, it's getting so frequent that it's depressing me," I remarked. "It is not a concern. We decided to start a family at our own speed," Robert comforted me. "I'm still uneasy, though. Since we get along well as a couple, having a child is not out of the question. May it be that one of us is having problems conceiving?" It was at that same moment that my mother-in-law advised we get tested for infertility. "Robert, your mother recommended that we take a fertility test today." I said, "I think I want to take it." "It's not necessary. When the time is right, we'll have a baby," Robert answered. "Then you go ahead and tell your mom." It was impossible for me not to yell at Robert. He doesn't appear to be concerned about not becoming a parent, and he believes it's best to disregard his mother. I'm the one left feeling depressed and questioning Robert's dependability. I chose not to tell him about my decision to have a fertility test. If it is a problem with me, I would like to address it as quickly as possible. Moreover, I am older than Robert, so the stakes are rather high. To save you time, I had good test results. Thus, Robert may be the cause of the problem. "So, Robert, about that fertility test we talked about the other day, let me bring it up," I replied. Robert made no attempt to mask his annoyance. I told you, Robert. I'm tired of infantile discourse. I want no part of having children at all." "Okay, let's just let it go," he said. Robert became silent, refusing to listen to me. He was only interested in sharing the test findings. Why does he seem so irate? I told myself, I don't want this tension to continue to cloud our relationship. In the end, I chose to withhold the test results from Robert. Not caring about how I feel, my mother-in-law calls. "Amelia, how are things doing with your children? Your window is shutting quickly at your age. I hate to mention that." "Maybe your age is the issue," she questioned. "I'm not the issue," was what I wanted to say, but it would have involved casting Robert in a negative light. He would undoubtedly hear about that. So I just stay silent and put up with her comments. Why did Robert marry an older lady unable of bearing children when even he knows how much I look forward to having grandchildren? My mother-in-law will not go away because she is certain that I am the issue. Now, Robert is also feeling the effects of her complaints. "Robert, will you kindly ask your mom to quit bringing up babies?" I added, "It hurts to be talked about that way when I want kids too." Not only has my mother-in-law been disparaging me, but Robert is also beginning to hold me accountable. "Don't, Mom, my friends were saying at the reunion that it's harder to have kids with an older wife," Robert said. "There's no way I can ask him to get tested now that I am so sure I am the problem," influenced not only by his mother but also by former classmates. Eventually, he began making fun of me and my mother-in-law whenever he visited his parents. Mother-in-law speaks loudly enough for me to hear her today. "Robert, why did you select an older woman? I assumed that you would wed Isabella, your college roommate. She appears healthy and is the same age. By now, you'd most likely have 1 or 2 grandchildren," she remarked. Robert laughs back, saying, "Really, I never would have married Amelia if I had known she couldn't have children. I must have agreed to the incorrect person." I've been losing faith in Robert ever then. I couldn't help but give him the cold shoulder whenever we were together. Robert consequently began to visit home less and less. "I don't need dinner tonight, got it?" he'd ask. Robert appeared to spend nearly every night with his old pals. But ultimately, he stopped coming out at night altogether, either because he got bored of it or ran out of money to spend. I asked, irritated, "So, you're not going out? Drinking anymore?" "But hold on, am I me? I'm not bothering you in any way," I went on. "Not at all," he answered. "I was just thinking that sharing meals is nice for a married couple." I began to feel that growing old together was enough, especially in the face of my mother-in-law's constant pressure, even if we weren't able to have children. I began treating Robert better and making the most of our time together because of this. Still, Robert resumed his weekend outings. Unexpected invitations were common during our college years, but they had stopped calling recently. "It's going to be terrible if he starts arriving home late again," I told myself. What really transpired, as I waited for him to return, was even worse. Robert returned home with a mother and a child. I said, "Who's this?" "It's your old classmate, Isabella," he answered. My mother-in-law mentioned Robert's college sweetheart, if I recall correctly. Why in the world would she be here, with a baby in her arms? Is it possible they got into a fight? I pondered. I murmured, "Pardon me," and glanced at Robert, who was more serious than I had ever seen. I had a bad feeling about this. "Listen to me, Amelia," Robert added. "I've also made the decision to start over with Isabella." "What are you trying to say?" "At the reunion last year, I ran into her again, and that's when I knew she was the one I really loved." "You are carrying my child," he declared. I cried out, "But Robert, you can't be serious." "It's true, but Isabella knew I was married, so she initially planned to raise the child on her own and gave birth in secret," Robert responded. With an agitated expression, Isabella said, "That's the reality, Amelia. I, too, have always desired a child. She begged last night, saying, 'This works for everyone. B. Radaku, if you only let me go. I am not incapable of being a parent.' I promised to live our lives together and pardoned all of his prior transgressions, but now this. A part of me broke. I committed to the divorce before I even realized it. The words were out of my mouth before I knew it." Robert leant forward, looking happy to hear that. "That's reasonable, L. Thank you. Amelia, I get it. When am I supposed to move out? They are eager to get rid of me and begin their new life in this house. How completely conceited. I can go right now if that's what you both want. However, I have a problem. I take it that since last year, you two have been dating? You realize you're being unfaithful? Oh, that was unavoidable. We got together at a reunion and were unable to control our emotions," they said, carefree. "The two of them. That they would assume I would be cool with this is horrifying. All right. I'm relieved that you acknowledge cheating. We can now properly pursue recompense in our divorce," I stated, sounding icy and subdued. Robert and Isabella became pale at this. "A reward? Are you good, dealer?" they cried out, spitting profanity. Ignoring them, I moved in to do the job. "Why not approach your mother-in-law for help if you're unable to pay? See her grandchild, she has been dying to. You think she would be glad to assist, B?" Without a doubt. With a seemingly confident "help us out," they paid me the cash I had sought. Naturally, I also added the expense of my lodging until I was able to locate a new place to live. But I made sure they signed a contract to keep things simple later on. "Shall we go tell mother-in-law right away?" I responded. Robert and Isabella talked joyfully about their new life, thinking of C and thinking, to finally have a grandchild, I'd be ignoring my presence. We told our mother-in-law the entire tale when we later paid her a visit at her house. "Excellent work on the paper. I thought I had told you so. It is preferable to wed a classmate." I've always believed that Isabella and you would make a better couple than that aging Amelia. My mother-in-law turns out to be exactly like Robert and Isabella. Isabella is ecstatic to hear her mother-in-law praise her, saying, they only think about themselves. A problem exists. Amelia is requesting a resolution. What a rapacious woman, she exclaims. It is a prerequisite to the divorce. Robert says, I want to spend as much time as possible with Isabella and let you hold your grandchild, Mom. Robert, you're such a good son. I'm happy for you. However, we will require financial support to raise the child. Mother-in-law states, if we pay the settlement, we won't be able to make ends meet. Leave it to me if that is the case. I have some cash set aside for my grandchild. Pay off the settlement with that. She extends her hands and says, now, let me hold the baby. Oh, how cute. Robert's eyes from when he was a baby look just like those. A stranger and a shield. They don't even realize that it's all a front. They look like 3 hot generations of a family. This is the settlement amount. Oh, and allow me to also offer you this. They inquire. What's this? The outcomes of my fertility test are as follows. The truth is what I felt everyone should know, I added, grinning broadly. Could it be because the issue was with Robert? It was clear that Amelia was surprised. What topic are you discussing? Clearly, he is capable of having children, Isabella. Robert answers with pride. Isabella, though, was clearly agitated. And here's another hint for those who didn't get it. At the reunion, what brought Robert and Isabella back together? Yes, it was approximately 6 months ago last year, I remarked, glancing at them. May seems to have finally caught on. Wait. Remain still. At the reunion, you guys reconnected, correct? Indeed, it was our first get-together in 10 or more years. Isabella has given birth already, though. The timing doesn't add up. Angry, Amelia approaches Isabella. She asks, what's going on here? Isabella eventually admits she can't talk her way out of this. As I hear this, I yell at AA, don't make light of anything. Robert's child, my own flesh and blood, is what I want. How about you? You misled me. You mentioned that we were soulmates, I retorted. But you can't, no kidding, Isabella says, getting to her feet and getting ready to go, irritated. Now, where do you anticipate going? Isabella won't get away with it, I vowed firmly. That's too late now. I promise not to make amends with Robert because of you. You took the husband of another lady. That's the price you have to pay. Immediately, my mother-in-law said, just as expected, and dismissed the proposal. May, why would I provide anything in return? Not even my grandchild is that child. Isabella and Robert both began to lose it. No, you would assist us. Robert begged, my savings are for my grandchildren, not some random kid. You two need to work this out on your own. My mother-in-law remarked, I can't afford to pay $10 or $30,000. It was unfortunate that I had a signed contract. My mother attempted to comfort me. Similar to Amelia, we've been coping quite well without children. I'm eager to get started again. I have no intention of starting afresh with you, as I have already stated. I responded icily, I'll take legal action if you don't pay. You got to be serious. Seriously? Thus far, we've been doing great. Who made that worse? You did, and I was raging at Robert before I even realized it. I believed that we would be happy together even if we were unable to have children. However, you disobey me, pay attention to your mother, and the child isn't even yours. You're so pitiful, I murmured. So, wouldn't it be nice if we could just be content going forward? Give up. I'm never going to be back with you. Move on and lead a happy life with your mother. Ignoring his pleas, I left Robert's family home. You and I are now strangers. This is where I'll never return, I told myself. I hurriedly packed up my belongings and relocated. I will never have to see Robert's face again because he has no idea where I'm heading. I soon moved into a leased flat and began a new life. Perhaps it was the threat of going to court, but Robert and Isabella did wind up footing the bill. Money was not a concern for me. I'm not sure what happened to them. They must have broken up because the payments were made from different accounts. I'm not sure if Robert remarried, but it's for sure that he is still childless.